Hello everyone, this is Ravi Teja, and of course I have Pavandeep with me, and the Third Man Cricket Podcast is back after a very long time, for that matter. We all watched, um, in fact, me and Pavandeep watched IPL. Waking up sometimes at even 3 a.m., 4 a.m. for that matter, and then the games were largely early in the morning and whatnot. But of course, this time around, the motivation to wake up and cheer would be even more, considering the World T20 is right around the corner. And of course, India, with its warm up games and how they performed, we've all seen, and the excitement just creeps up even more. Uh, Firstly, before we kind of even proceed to World T20, firstly, I wanted to talk about the amazing feat that MS Dhoni has achieved with Chennai Super Kings by winning uh, the uh, the IPL this time around. Uh, they pretty much have shown a very consistent phase one and phase two performances, and then of course, you know, right at the top, doing really well, and then winning two back-to-back knockout games, and not necessarily playing the again the other playoff match also. As in, it's just sheer dominance, and it was lovely to see MS Dhoni back and Chennai winning as well. So. That's something that I wanted to specifically talk about and extend my congratulations to all the CSK fans. Nonetheless, here we are now. Time to kind of drop all our yellow, orange, red, blue, pink, whatnot, all the jerseys aside, and then just wear uh, the beautiful blue that this time around we're also sporting a new kit and whatnot. So, firstly, while I welcome Pavandeep Bhai, I also wanted to know his quick thoughts on the new MPL kit. MPL has not necessarily stepped up and kind of uh, lived up to his expectations of designing Indian kits is what we thought. But initial thoughts, Bhaiya, what do you think of the MPL kit?
Hi Ravi, hope you're doing fine and welcome to all our listeners as well. Yeah, the new jersey was designed as a tribute to the billions of cricketing fans that the Indian team has across the globe. And the sounds and cheers and the vibrations provided by these fans has been showcased on the jersey, although not one of the more appealing jerseys as far as I'm concerned, but because it was created by keeping the billions of fans who are the main stakeholders of the game in mind. I think uh, that's going to egg on the team even more to go ahead and win that coveted ICC trophy, which has been missing in the cabinet for close to 8 years now.
So very well said. There's a lot of emotional quotient to it as well, and there's no two ways there. So before we kind of dive deep into how the World T20 groups are and anything for that matter, firstly, the MS Dhoni factor as the mentor of Team India. What are your quick thoughts, and then we can talk about the how the qualifiers also have been.
Yeah, I think it was a shot in the arm when the BCCI, led by Saurav Ganguly and Jay Shah, decided to appoint MS Dhoni as a mentor. It came as a surprise to me, I would say, because I did not think that MS Dhoni was that kind of a cricketer who would like to be involved in the national scheme of things, especially after retiring just recently. But I could see the reason and the desperation as to why that was happening, because it had become a regular pattern for the current Indian setup to perform very well in the global tournaments as far as the league stage was concerned, and then falter at the business end of the tournament during the knockouts. And having someone over there who has a very calming influence, and has also been a player and a captain who has won multiple events uh, across formats in the ICC tournaments and also in IPLs and also the Champions League, uh, would provide a good shoulder for these players to rest on. And most of these players have been, wards of MS Dhoni and started their careers under him and look up to him as their skipper, irrespective of what their standing is in the team now. And Also listening to Saurav Ganguly recently, he mentioned that there would absolutely not be much of a conflict uh, as far as the roles in the team are concerned because everybody was spoken to, uh, namely Shastri and Kohli were spoken to in no uncertain terms about this plan being put in place, and they nodded in affirmation. And this is the last tournament for the current support staff as well. And MS Dhoni also has been brought on board only for this tournament before the new coach and the support staff kicks in post the World Cup. So I think all in all, it's a very good decision and one that will hold him in good stead, especially come the crunch games in the knockouts. Is what I think, and he will definitely keep Virat and his men grounded in that regard and keep a very serene atmosphere in the dressing room. So it's a win-win situation.
Oh yes, certainly yes, and I'm really looking forward to. Of course, we did get those initial images of MS Dhoni back again with the BCCI crest and whatnot. So of course, it's emotionally quite moving, but of course, it isn't very long ago that we've last seen him as well. Nonetheless, as you rightly told, it will be a shoulder to rest on, and what we need probably is that calming presence once again. And let's necessarily see how we're going to fare forward. Uh, Quickly also to talk about how the qualifiers have gone. To be honest, these qualifiers were not straightforward alone. I thought it will be Sri Lanka, Bangladesh topping their group and whatnot, but the qualifiers really started with Scotland surprising Bangladesh, and then the whole hype around it. And of course, when any Asian team, for that matter, any of the four Asian teams, when they get defeated by one of those so-called minnows, as you rightly call them, there's going to be a lot of roar or a lot of talk about it on Twitter and social media and whatnot, because um, this is it's sheer numbers which pretty much you can call it rivalry, you can call it a healthy element of the game and everything for that matter, but still the way Bangladesh have played and how Shakib has performed for their team was in really nice to see. Never to forget, Scotland topped their group and Bangladesh with second, and of course Sri Lanka with all their clean sheets with their 3 wins, and Namibia this time around. I still get reminded of 2003 World Cup of how Namibia played, and Sachin's 100 if I'm not wrong, maybe Ganguly's as well. So of course quick memories, but now of course Namibia is back again in World T20, and it would be really awesome to see them. Uh, Tough on Ireland and Oman to miss out, but nonetheless, I think the deserving four are still in uh, the main groups now. Uh, the obvious question and probably the obvious observation is how Sri Lanka and Bangladesh are now pretty much are in the Group A, Group 1, Super 12 Group 1, with England, South Africa, West Indies, Australia, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. I don't know if even calling it the group of death is an understatement. Whereas when it comes to uh, Group 2, we're still kind of talking about India, Pakistan, and New Zealand, wherein we're pretty confident, or if it is not any of these three teams, with two of these three teams which are not kind of advancing forward, we can call it a real upsetting or really dramatic group for that matter. Afghanistan will definitely surprise, but Scotland and Namibia, I think, well, the only game possibly both of them could win perhaps will be the game between them, because of course, the surprises are still probably more frequent in T20 format, but nonetheless, I think the gap between India, Pakistan, New Zealand, and Afghanistan too, for that matter, is quite wide when you compare it with the Namibia and Scotland. But nonetheless, to make it more dramatic or to make it more spicy, we would need a good, healthy Scotland and Namibia, maybe surprising uh, and Afghanistan for sure, or maybe even Pakistan, or maybe even India. Let's see. Let's see how it goes. So, what's in your mind, Bayaz, and how do you think the groups look, and mainly any dark horses in your mind? And I'll pick my dark horses probably once you are done from Group One and Group Two.
Yeah, aptly put, Ravi. And that's the beauty of these ICC tournaments, because if everything goes as per script and as per what people are thinking pre-tournament, and there is no point watching the tournament. There is bound to be an upset or two, and that's what adds to the charm of the tournament, I would say, and that is reflected from how the qualifiers went across in the last week. Scotland upsetting Bangladesh was a great match to watch, and kudos to them for winning all the three matches. Oman played very well in all their matches, just that because of lack of experience in such high pressure games, they were not able to give that final fillip. Bangladesh should be a tad disappointed on how they scraped through to the final draw, where they were expected to easily top their group. I think their youngsters have not come to the fore, and time and again, the likes of Shakib, Mushfiqur, Mehmudullah, and all these guys are expected to get them home. Tamim Iqbal is one player that they are sorely missing at the top of the order. And similarly, it was very very nice to see somebody like a Namibia punch above their weight and win comprehensively. For example, today against Ireland, I was in fact, very confident that Sri Lanka and either of Ireland or Netherlands would come through, because historically we have been seeing Ireland and Netherlands playing associate cricket quite well. But Namibia, like correctly mentioned, the only memory of Namibia we had was from the 2003 World Cup. I was reading a very pertinent point just today, some time ago. So Rudy Van Voren is the head of Namibia cricket, and he is the same player who took Sachin Tendulkar's wicket in that World Cup match after Sachin scored the century. And he's also a player who has represented Namibia in rugby, I believe. And it's not a thing that's happened overnight, is what he mentioned. It was a concerted effort of last 3 years in Namibia, and having a very conscious effort of making sure that the majority black population is attracted towards that sport in Namibia, and making use of the proper funds that are coming from ICC. That has held them in good stead and now produce the results, which makes them automatically qualify for the next year's T20 World Cup, is what I was reading, which is absolutely fantastic. Uh, uh, so they have become a model board for a lot of associate countries, is what Rudy was mentioning in his interaction with the media earlier today as well. Uh, so them having qualified along with Sri Lanka, who were pretty much expected to do so, they might just want to, address the issues with their top order batting in all the three matches. Their top order has been found wanting. Even today, when they were chasing a paltry total of only 45, they lost a couple of wickets. But one goal in addition, I saw that, uh, if India appointed MS Dhoni as a mentor, they appointed Mahela Jayawardene as their mentor. I definitely see him and Kumar Sangakkara being pivotal part of their coaching staff going forward, and that should be the thing, from their both perspective as well of involving them. So having said that, what Scotland topping their pool has done is that Scotland and Namibia both go into Group Two in the Super 12s, and then you have Sri Lanka and Bangladesh both going into Group One. So technically, as you mentioned, the Group of Death has all six test playing nations, and it's going to be very very hard to predict the two teams that are going to make it out of that group. West Indies. Many people think they are a spent force with all their aging stars gunning for their third title. They were pretty mediocre in the warm up games as well, but I think come the main tournament, they'll be a serious threat because they do have players who are just going to be you know, very lethal and match winners on their own on any given day, so cannot take them lightly. They might either blow cold totally or blow hot. England again been fantastic in the white ball format over the last 5 or 6 years, and they play with a lot of flair and aggression. And loss of wickets early on also not going to deter them from playing their natural game. They're obviously going to miss the likes of Stokes and Archer, but they definitely have such a deep pool of resources. They're going to be serious threats in there as well. Australia have been a pale shadow of themselves. In fact, T20 has been one code that they have found it very hard to crack, and remains the one ICC trophy that they have never won. And it's just because they play less amount of bilateral T20 cricket, that their T20 cricket team is also just a moderate extension of their 50-over game. So they would want all their big stars to come to the party. You know, David Warner has had a wretched time with the bat. So the only positive thinking from their side would be that he's saving up all his runs for the tournament. They would need Glenn Maxwell to fire on all cylinders along with Steve Smith and Mitchell Marsh, and obviously want the pace try of Stark, Hazelwood, and Cummins to lead the bowling attack. But it's going to be an uphill battle for them. I think it's they have to develop an idea of roping in T20 specialists going forward. You know, especially when they host the World Cup next year. Which leaves us with South Africa. I would be very wary of South Africa. A lot of people will be thinking that they have their own baggage as far as ICC tournaments are concerned. And this time, I think the pressure is not on them. They're not coming in as one of the favorites. So that might just help them to, increase their performance on the big stage. And again, they have their key players. They've got a very potent spin attack. That is not something that you would say South Africa always likes of Tabre Samshi, Keshav Maharaj, and their main batters, Aiden Markram, Lucy Van der Dusen the other day played a fantastic knock. David Miller, Kagiso Rabada, Lungi Ngidi, Anglik Nokia. If these guys come to the party, then they can have a tournament to remember. Then we got Sri Lanka and Bangladesh to wrap it off, who I think will find it difficult to go to the semi-finals, but might have one or two good days and spoil the party for the other big teams. So uh, it's going to be a very tough group. And coming to Group Two, on the face of it, you would say that three very strong teams: India, Pakistan, New Zealand, and then Afghanistan, Scotland, and Namibia. Uh, India, obviously, very strong favorites to progress out of the group. We'll have a discussion about them just in a bit as well in detail. And Pakistan, mercurial as ever, those hot one day and cold the other, but you can never discount them in this format of the game. They've been very consistent as far as T20 is concerned and have been the number one team um, other than the last year or so in the ICC rankings, and have brilliant individual players who can pull off matches on their own, which might not give them much of scope in say longer format of the game, but in T20 format, all you require is a good spell or a good knock to carry you through. So the likes of Babar, Rizwan, uh, and Shaheen Shah Afridi, Hassan Ali, Shadab Khan, Imran Wasim, and all these guys are very dangerous, and their day they can beat anyone. Just remains to be seen what kind of Pakistan you get to see on a given day. New Zealand, again, a very, very tough team in the ICC tournaments, and a team which always keeps punching above their weight in these tournaments, led by the able Kevin Williamson, uh, 2019 World Cup finalist, winners of the WTC this year, high on confidence. So another team who has a lot of match winners and can take away the game on any given day. Williamson, uh, along with other people in the batting department, Devin Convoy, and all these people, ably supported by a well-rounded bowling attack led by Team Saudi and Trent Bolt. So always have a shoe in. I think one team that people have not been talking about a lot is Afghanistan. I will not be surprised if if you know if they qualify for the semifinals, which I think is unlikely, but will not be a surprise for me if they do so as well, because there has to be a major breakout tournament for them. They have a fantastic bowling lineup. It depends a lot on how they bat, and whether they are able to put up scores on the board for their bowling lineup with the likes of Nabi, Rashid Khan, Mujib, Gurbaz, all these guys, Shapur Zadran, Hamid Hassan. Very, very potent bowling attack. There's one young left-arm Chinaman spinner, I believe. I'm forgetting his name, but fantastic, fantastic bowling attack. And if they bat well, they'll give a headache to a lot of teams in this group. Then you go to the likes of Scotland and Namibia, who have got nothing to lose, who have achieved their first objective. They get to play five more games, and that in itself is a huge achievement for them. And who knows, on any given day, they might give a top side a run for their money. Scotland, especially, I've just seen very briefly during the qualifiers. They have very exciting characters in there. Uh, and seem to have most of the bases covered. So who knows what they can deliver on the given day. So that, in a nutshell, as per me, is how the groups stack up. And if you're, putting the gun to my head and saying which are the two teams from each groups that would qualify, I would say from Group One, it would be England for sure, and second team would be a very tough call. But I'm sticking my neck out and saying that it's going to be South Africa. So England and South Africa from Group One, and from Group Two, I would say would be India and close fight between Pakistan and New Zealand. But I'm going for New Zealand. So England, New Zealand, South Africa, and India would be my four semi-finalists. What about you, Ravi?
So very well put by. I don't think I have much to add with respect to how the squads are structured and whatnot. But one thing is the 24th October game between India and Pakistan is a good thing for both teams. Uh, both teams, even if they one of the team will have to definitely lose, and once that happens, it gives them enough good, solid four more games to kind of strike back and you know do it. It of course the significant relevance itself is so much that you should not add any necessary tournament related baggage to it perhaps. So uh, nonetheless, of course, I mean, I'm I don't know. I think Group One would definitely see England and Australia as my picks. Who would definitely go. The dark horses would largely be South Africa. I really like their spin department as well, and I think they're gonna do wonders on that very UAE wickets. Let's not forget the artillery of pace bowling as well. Uh, Bauma still seems to be a liability, but if they had Faf du Plessis, right, they would have. I don't know if they would have, probably been a notch higher than even Australia for that matter. But nonetheless, uh, it is what it is, and we did see Van Dusen's amazing 100 against Pakistan against that very bowling lineup as well. And it's not easy, even if it's in a warm-up game, because people were giving their 100% out there. So South Africa will be my dark horses, but nonetheless, I just feel on that very moment maybe they'll choke, and I don't want to kind of sounded to be obvious, but I think England and Australia will go forward, and maybe South Africa will just miss the cut. Coming to group in which India is there, of course, India will 100% qualify is what I feel. Eh, I don't know. I mean, as an optimist or probably as a fan is what I personally want to mention that. But I think the second team which is going to qualify would be Pakistan, and not New Zealand. Anything other than Pakistan and New Zealand would, of course, be a surprise. But having said that, I think it would be Pakistan because I it's such a beautiful culmination of nice experience in the form of Mohammad Hafiz, Shoaib Malik, even Sarfaraz for that matter, and let's not forget even Shaheen is kind of now an a seasoned bowler as well, with Babar also playing probably his third tournament, ICC tournament after the World Cup and after the Champions Trophy 2017, and Shadab Khan was also who's kind of going to play his third tournament. Uh, I really like their slow bowling artillery as well, and I think on UAE tries they're going to be really effective. It's just that you just can't predict what a Pakistani team would do on that very day. Uh, I won't be surprised if they beat India and New Zealand, but not Afghanistan. So and it just gets a bit tricky out there. So I whatever it is. So personally, my four picks would be India, Pakistan, England, and Australia. Afghanistan will give a run uh, for their money definitely, and they would be the dark horses. Having said that, will they qualify is still a question that needs to be answered. So that's my, I'll say, four picks largely spawned by. So okay, I think of course it's a far-fetched thought, but nonetheless, uh, how confident are you that India would win the tournament? I mean, of course, it's a vague question, but do you think we have a better chance than 2016, considering all other teams, all other groups, all the IPL experience that we had, and whatnot?
Yeah, I definitely think that we have more than a chance to win the trophy this time. And I think we have the required arsenal. It again boils down to how we are going to um, select our playing 11, especially when it comes to the crunch and the knockout games. I think team selection has been one of the most pertinent issues in these high pressure games. We saw that in the 2019 World Cup. We were unsure and how to react when we were caught on the back foot is uh, what we need to guard against. Of course, everyone knows that as far as the T20 setup is concerned, we are a very good side when it comes to chasing targets. When we are in the know-how of what we need to get in the 20 overs, but we have been found wanting when we are um, bowling second and defending totals. That's where our batting has struggled to understand the pace at which we have to go. Um, and for a lot of time, our T20 cricket was just considered to be an extension of our one-day game with the same top order and lack of any innovation, especially between overs number 7 and 15. That seems to have been proactively addressed in the last year or so with the likes of Surya Kumar Yadav, Ishan Kishan, Rishabh Pant being drafted back into the T20 squad. Um, so these are the players who are very, very fearless in their approach and are going to play their natural game no matter what, if we have had a good start or if we have had a couple of wickets down early in the power play. So we've got a great top three: Rahul, Rohit, and Virat. That is the envy of many other teams for sure. Uh, KL Rahul has been fantastic form in the IPL and was sublime in even in the practice matches. He's got an understanding of the pitches across all the three venues over there now. So that coupled with the middle order just that I just mentioned, and I think we have to be very clear as to what is the role of Hardik Pandey in the team. I don't think he's going to be bowling much, and we do definitely need six bowling options in the playing 11. It's going to be very difficult to manage with only five bowling options because there's hardly anybody in the top five who can roll their arm over. We saw Virat bowling a couple of overs the other day in the warm-up game, but come a high-pressure game in the World Cup or a knockout game, you would not see that happening. So we have to be very clear as to who is going to be that all-rounder that provides balance to the team, and I cannot think anybody beyond Ravindra Jadeja. I don't know why people do not think of him as being the balancing act in the playing level, rather than Hardik Pandya. He's come up leaps and bounds with the bat, fantastic in the IPL. If anything, his bowling has tapered off a bit in white ball, and I don't think he is going to be your bowler who's going to give you four overs in every match. So why not play him as a sixth bowler? And if he's able to deliver 2 or 3 overs every match, then that's it. That's what you're looking out for. And then uh, they did a good thing of replacing Akshar Patel with Shardul because you needed a backup for Hardik Pandya. Uh, Shardul is Shardul might not be in the same league as a batsman if compared to Hardik, but we all know what he can do with the ball as and has a happy knack of being a wicket taker every time the captain turn towards him. Then of course you've got the redoubtable Jasprit Bumrah and Mohammad Shami. Bhuvneshwar Kumar has been a bit off color, but I don't think he might get too many chances in the playing 11, to be honest, barring an injury to the leading paceman. And then you've got the mystery spinner and Varun Chakrabarti, who's going to be a unknown quantity for many teams, especially for the players who have not played in the IPL. And even in the IPL, he's been very difficult to pick. R. Ashwin has come back into the scheme of things because the tournament is happening in the UAE and he's had a good couple of IPL seasons. So uh, he also makes a compelling case. He, just like Varun Chakravarti, is a bowler who will be willing to put his hand up and bowl those tough overs inside the power play and in the middle as well. Um, and then we got Rahul Chahar, um, who was picked ahead of Chahal. I think Yuzvendra Chahal deserved to be selected in the squad, and the only reason that was given was because he bowls a little bit quicker than him that he was selected for the conditions. It remains to be seen whether he gets a chance in the playing 11 or not. He was out of the Mumbai Indians side for last 3-4 games of the IPL and did not inspire much confidence in the warm-up games. But all in all, I think we've got a very good side, top class fielding unit as well, barring a couple of people whom you might need to hide in the field, which can be done in a T20 game. But I think if everybody plays their role perfectly and we get the selection right, I don't see this team being stopped in these conditions. And I would say that we got to have a really uh, bad off day. Fortunately, we have been having them in the finals or semi-finals for the last 4 or 5 years. So we're going to hopefully break that jinx this time and uh, get that trophy in what is going to be Virat Kohli's swan song as a T20 captain as well. So it would be a fitting tribute to him uh, and add a cabinet to him uh, to his legacy and also going to be Ravi Shastri's last assignment along with Bharat Arun and R. Sridhar. So I think uh, that coaching staff also would deserve a fitting farewell because they have achieved a lot together in the last 3 or 4 years, I would say, especially in the white clothing. So hoping for a fairy tale finish over there and another World Cup being added to our kitty. All in all, a good chance, I would say. Fingers crossed, and if everything goes well to plan, we should have our hand on the T20 World Cup for the second time.
Much needed and much awaited after all the knockout bashings that we've seen over the course of what, last 8 years or probably 6 years. Actually 7 years, including the 2014 World Cup in Bangladesh. So, of course, it's going to be all hyped up. And as I was kind of, as I was mentioning offline as well, I mean, anything other than a defeat, other than lifting, would be a disappointment. And in a way, it's good that Virat has already let go of captaincy. In a way, maybe it'll help him to think that okay, he has nothing much to lose, because as a batsman, of course, we can't still think beyond him, even given despite his uh, okayish form. Uh, Nonetheless, I mean, it would be very exciting to see what's in store. And of course, October 24th, India versus Pakistan. That's how hopefully we kick off with a win. And Even if we don't win it, it's okay, no problem. I would love to see India lifting the World T20. But if it's defeat in the World T20, uh, at some stage and also defeat against Pakistan, I think it's going to be fun. Just grab hold of your popcorn, and Twitter is all there to give you fun. So that's about it, Pawan. By any final thoughts? That's about it from my side.
I think that seems good, and hope we have a cracking tournament and we get to see some good cricket, some close games is what we want, and good battle there between the bat and the ball is all we are hoping for.
Certainly, yes. That's about it, guys. And of course, uh, take care, everyone, and let's have a amazing World T20. And I hope India wins it. Cheers.
Thank you and cheers, everybody.